The 1938 Vagabond with the Curtiss Aerocar trailer was not simply an unusual vehicle. It was a radical statement, a bold declaration about what long-distance road travel could become, at a time when the very idea of a luxury motorhome barely existed in the minds of engineers, let alone the public. To understand why this machine mattered, you have to place yourself in that era. The late 1930s was a period of extraordinary transformation. Automobiles were rapidly evolving from basic utilitarian transportation into symbols of status, progress, and technological ambition. Roads were improving, speeds were rising, and a small number of visionaries were beginning to ask a question that seemed almost impossible at the time. What if you could bring the comforts of a fine home with you wherever the road led? Unlike the recreational vehicles that would be designed decades later for leisure and casual camping, the Vagabond was conceived for something far more refined. This was a rolling residence of the highest order, built to provide comfort, dignity, and total autonomy over vast distances, regardless of what lay between destinations. No reliance on hotels, no compromise on quality, just the open road and everything you needed to live well upon it. At the heart of the project was a highly specialized tractor unit. The base for this extraordinary vehicle was a 1938 REO cab-over-engine truck, custom-built for this exact purpose by Standard Carriage Works of Los Angeles. This was not a production line vehicle pulled from inventory and modified slightly. It was a bespoke engineering solution designed from the ground up to meet the extraordinary demands imposed by the Curtiss Aerocar trailer it was destined to pull. The cab-over configuration was a deliberate choice. By placing the cab directly over the engine, engineers were able to reduce the overall length of the tractor unit while maximizing usable space and improving sight lines for the driver. In the context of a combined vehicle of this scale, every inch of length mattered. The chassis itself was extensively reinforced, with special attention paid to torsional rigidity, axle loading, and long-term durability under continuous heavy towing conditions. This was a vehicle engineered not for a single journey, but for a lifetime of them. One of the most unconventional and technically intriguing aspects of the Vagabond was its drivetrain layout. At a time when virtually every heavy truck placed its engine at the front of the vehicle, because that was simply how trucks were built, the Vagabond's engineers made a different choice entirely. The power plant was mounted at the rear. This decision was not arbitrary. It was driven by a precise engineering rationale: improved weight distribution and towing stability. By shifting the mass of the engine toward the rear of the tractor unit, the designers reduced stress on the front axle while simultaneously improving traction at the driven wheels, a critical advantage when pulling a large, aerodynamically shaped trailer over long distances at sustained highway speeds. The original power source for this rear-mounted arrangement was a White V12 gasoline engine rated at 212 horsepower. For the late 1930s, this was an exceptional level of output for any road-going truck. It placed the Vagabond firmly in the realm of high-performance heavy vehicles, a class unto itself. The V12 configuration was chosen not only for raw power, but for the quality of that power. 12 cylinders allowed for exceptionally balanced operation, producing smooth, even torque delivery and dramatically reduced vibration compared to 6- or 8-cylinder alternatives. For a vehicle expected to operate continuously across thousands of miles while maintaining the comfort of its passengers, this mechanical refinement was not a luxury, it was a necessity. The White V12 engine proved its worth across an extraordinary span of time and distance. It remained in active service for approximately 250,000 miles, that is 402,336 kilometers, before being retired. For a gasoline-powered heavy truck engine of that era, such accumulated mileage was nothing short of remarkable. It speaks volumes not only about the quality of the original engineering, but also about the disciplined and meticulous maintenance regime under which the Vagabond was operated throughout its working life. This was not a vehicle driven hard and maintained poorly. It was managed as a serious long-term investment, one where reliability, smooth operation, and mechanical integrity were considered non-negotiable at every service interval. In 1953, the Vagabond underwent a major mechanical transformation. After more than a decade and 250,000 miles on the original gasoline engine, the decision was made to replace it with a Cummins diesel unit producing 300 horsepower. This upgrade was not just a practical decision, it reflected a broader shift taking place across the heavy vehicle industry. Diesel engines offered superior torque characteristics, better fuel efficiency over long distances, and significantly greater longevity compared to gasoline engines of comparable output. For a vehicle built around the concept of sustained, long-distance operation, the advantages of diesel power were impossible to ignore. The conversion fundamentally changed the operating character of the Vagabond. It became quieter at cruise, more economical over distance, and even more capable of the sustained, effortless hauling that its role demanded. In every meaningful sense, the Cummins diesel extended the useful life of the vehicle by decades. And it did exactly that. The Cummins diesel engine continued to power the Vagabond until 1991, an almost unbelievable service life spanning nearly 4 decades. By the time it was finally retired, the Vagabond had accumulated a working history stretching more than half a century. For a custom-built vehicle of this complexity, that longevity is virtually unheard of. Its retirement was not the failure of a machine, it was the closing of an era. Equally essential to understanding the Vagabond is the Curtiss Aerocar trailer that it was built to haul, because without it, the tractor unit has no context, and the story has no soul. The Aerocar was designed with powerful aviation influence, and this was no coincidence. Curtiss was a company with deep roots in aircraft engineering, and its designers approached the challenge of road transport the way they approached the challenge of flight, with a relentless focus on aerodynamic efficiency, structural strength, and weight optimization. The result was a trailer with a streamlined aluminum body, smooth contours, and flowing lines reminiscent of aircraft fuselages and high-speed passenger trains of the Art Deco era. The shape was not chosen for aesthetics alone. It served a functional purpose, reducing aerodynamic drag and contributing to greater stability at the speeds the Vagabond was designed to sustain. Inside, the Curtiss Aerocar was a fully realized living environment. Period descriptions confirm that it incorporated sleeping quarters, lounge seating, dining facilities, generous storage compartments, and service areas, all arranged with remarkable spatial efficiency. The interior reflected the luxury expectations of its intended occupants, combining skilled craftsmanship with practical intelligence. This was not a recreational camper, it was a mobile residence designed for extended occupancy, fully capable of supporting long journeys without any reliance on fixed accommodations. Throughout its operational life, the Vagabond and Curtiss Aerocar combination served Forest Lawn Memorial Park, fulfilling a ceremonial and transport role that placed particular demands on both reliability and dignified presentation. The vehicle's smooth operation, quiet cruising character, and imposing yet elegant appearance made it ideally suited to that purpose. Over time, it became an iconic sight, a symbol of a unique intersection between engineering ambition, refined luxury, and institutional identity. In 1998, recognizing its historical and cultural significance, the Vagabond was transferred to the Peterson Automotive Museum. There, it was preserved not as a mere curiosity or roadside oddity, but as a landmark example of experimental vehicle design and pre-war American innovation. When the museum later sold the vehicle at auction in 2017, the Cummins engine was no longer operational, but the Vagabond itself remained largely intact, a rolling artifact of a bold and imaginative era. Today, the 1938 Vagabond with the Curtiss Aerocar stands entirely alone in automotive history. It was not mass-produced, it was not replicated, it was not followed by a direct lineage of similar vehicles. Instead, it exists as a singular experiment, a one-of-a-kind machine that anticipated the modern luxury motorhome by decades, proving that the ambition to bring one's home onto the open road was already being explored at the highest levels of engineering long before it ever became mainstream. It was conceived before the infrastructure existed to fully support it. It was built before the materials and engines that would make such ideas practical were widely available, and yet it worked. It lasted. It endured for more than 50 years of active service. If you value rare machines that challenged conventions, defied expectations, and pushed the boundaries of what a vehicle could be, this is one of the most important videos this channel will ever tell. Don't forget to subscribe and stay with the channel. Videos like this remind us that the future is often imagined long before it becomes reality.